There's a certain power in the one who remains still. When everything around them spins in noise, chaos, drama, and disorder, they stay calm. They do not flinch, not because they don't feel, but because they've learned to master themselves. To seem unfazed, not as a performance, but as a reflection of real inner work, is a rare and life-altering strength. That's what this video is about. Not pretending to be stoic, but becoming it. So composed, so deeply rooted, that no insult, no rejection, no loss, and no high or low can shake your core. When you learn to look unbothered, not because you hide emotions, but because you've elevated beyond impulsive reaction, everything changes. People feel it. You feel it. The world responds to it. So if you've ever been told you're too sensitive, if you've ever wished you had better control over your emotions, if you've been caught up in spirals of overthinking, overreacting, or over-explaining, this is for you. Let's walk through this together. We'll explore what it really means to master your peace, to control your reactions, to live grounded in purpose, and to shine through stillness. And I promise you, if you absorb and apply what's in this video, the shift in how others treat you will be undeniable. But more importantly, the shift in how you treat yourself will be the beginning of everything. If you're ready for that change, take a second now to subscribe to the Everlasting Stoic. This is where we grow in silence, in stillness, in strength. And drop a like if the calm you seek is something you're now choosing to build. Now let's begin. Chapter 1. Master Inner Peace. What does it mean to master inner peace? Not the kind of peace sold to you in glossy meditation apps or packaged in affirmations repeated over anxious breath, but real, unshakable stillness. The kind of peace that stands its ground in a storm, the kind of calm that cannot be stolen, no matter how hard the world tries. This peace is not gifted. It's forged. You earn it in the fire of your own discomfort. You meet it on the far side of your restlessness. To master inner peace is to confront the parts of yourself that are loud, reactive, hungry for validation, and addicted to chaos, and to look them in the eye without flinching. Inner peace isn't passive. It's not letting it all go in the way people say when they're running away. It's not numbness, not apathy. It's presence. It's a clarity so deep it silences the noise before the noise even arrives. It's awareness so rooted that emotion can pass through you, but it doesn't take you with it. And it begins with a decision. You stop outsourcing your serenity. You stop making your calm dependent on what others say or do. You stop letting people's moods dictate your energy. You stop letting outcomes define your worth. You realize peace was never theirs to give or take. It was yours, all along, waiting to be claimed. This is where you step away from the circus. You stop playing emotional ping pong with the world. You refuse to rise and fall with the mood swings of others. When someone tries to provoke you, you don't engage. Not because you're weak, but because you see through it. You've trained yourself to pause, to observe, to respond, not react. You'll know you're mastering inner peace when your silence speaks louder than your old need to defend yourself. When someone attacks your character and you feel no need to prove them wrong. When someone leaves your life and you wish them well, not with bitterness, but with a calm understanding that nothing real can be taken from you. You'll notice it in the little things. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and instead of a spike of rage, you feel a moment of humor. A delay in your plans doesn't unravel you. It becomes an opportunity to breathe. A rejection doesn't trigger panic, because you've built something deeper than approval. You become grounded in something timeless, your values, your discipline, your presence. You no longer look to chaos to feel alive. You stop romanticizing emotional roller coasters. You fall in love with stillness, with consistency, with quiet strength. This peace isn't loud. It doesn't need to announce itself. It shows in your posture, in your decisions, in your eyes. Others will notice it, even if they don't understand it. They'll test it. Some will try to break it, not out of malice, but because your peace reminds them of their chaos. Don't let that disturb you. Let it affirm you. Because the moment you no longer need to prove anything, you become untouchable. Now here's a question worth sitting with. What have you been giving your peace away to? Write it in the comments. Reflect on it. Name the thing. It could be a person, a habit, a belief. Bringing it into the light is how you take your power back. Let's move forward. Chapter 2. Let go of reactions. Reactions are easy. They're instinctive. They feel justified, righteous even. Someone disrespects you, and the anger rises. Someone pulls away, and you chase. Someone lies, and you lash back. And so the cycle repeats, over and over. A dance of pain and provocation, with no one leading and no one free. Letting go of reactions is one of the hardest forms of self-mastery, because it requires that you interrupt a pattern the world keeps encouraging. Social media, modern culture, even well-meaning friends. They'll tell you, don't let them get away with it. Clap back, set the record straight. They'll cheer for your emotional outburst as if it were a badge of strength. But the truth is, strength isn't found in how loudly you respond. It's found in how little control they have over whether you respond at all. To seem unfazed is not to be void of feeling. It's to be full of power, the kind that doesn't need to explode to be felt. Reactions hand over that power. Every time you react, you say to the other person, "You control my inner world." They push a button, you jump. They say a word, you crumble. They ignore you. You spiral. Stoicism teaches us a deeper path. It says the only thing you truly own is your response. Not the stimulus, not the action of others, not the outcome, just the response. And if you don't master that, someone else always will. Imagine you're in the middle of a storm. Winds are howling, trees shaking, lightning slicing through the sky. You can't stop the storm, but you can be the mountain it beats against. Unmoved, unchanged, immovable. That's what letting go of reactions feels like. It's not disengaging from life, it's choosing not to be owned by it. This discipline is forged in practice. You train yourself not by suppressing your feelings, but by pausing long enough to understand them. You breathe before you speak. You listen before you decide. You let the wave rise and fall, and you stay rooted while it does. The next time you feel the surge, the flash of heat in your chest, the urgency in your voice, the tension in your fists, pause. Ask yourself, is this me, or is this my programming? Is this my truth, or is this a wound trying to protect itself? And then do what most won't. Do nothing. Just observe. Let the moment pass through you, like wind through branches. When you don't react, something incredible happens. You become the mirror that reflects, not the sponge that absorbs. And in that reflection, others are often confronted with their own behavior. You've said nothing, yet everything has changed. You don't rise to every insult. You don't chase every departure. You don't defend every misunderstanding. You conserve your energy for what matters. You protect your peace like sacred ground, and in doing so, you become different. People begin to notice. They feel your stillness. Some will be confused by it. Some will be drawn to it. A few will fear it, but all will respect it, because very few have it. This is not passivity. It's precision. You're not reacting to every emotional impulse, because you've grown into someone who doesn't move just because the world tells you to. You've become intentional. You don't explain yourself to people, committed to misunderstanding you. You don't light yourself on fire to prove your warmth. You don't play chess with people still learning how to pick up the pieces. And if someone says you've changed, say thank you. That was the point. Now take a moment. Reflect on the last time you reacted without thinking. The last time someone else's chaos became yours. What triggered it? How could you have handled it differently? If you're ready to start choosing response over reaction, write in the comments, "I am the calm." Let those words anchor your next storm. Let's go deeper. The next chapter will change how you view what actually matters in this life. Chapter 3. Focus on what matters. In a world wired for distraction, focus is a rebellion. Everywhere you turn, something begs for your attention. Notifications chirp, screens glow. People compete to be heard, to be seen, to be validated. You wake up, and before your feet even touch the floor, a dozen different voices are already in your mind. Opinions, headlines, reminders, expectations, and if you don't protect your focus, the world will claim it for you. To seem unfazed, you must first choose what matters and let go, ruthlessly, of what doesn't. This chapter is about subtraction, not adding more practices or stacking more productivity tools, but cutting away the noise, reducing the inputs, sharpening your life into something clear and narrow. Because only in the absence of distraction can purpose rise. When you focus on what matters, you stop being reactive to the unimportant. You no longer chase arguments that go nowhere. You stop explaining yourself to people who just want drama. You begin to understand that most things simply don't deserve a response. The Stoics had a word for this clarity: eudaimonia. Not happiness in the way we use it now, but a kind of flourishing that comes from aligning your life with your deeper nature. You begin to ask, what is truly mine to carry? What is worth my energy? What is essential? You'll find the list is shorter than you think. It might be your craft, the thing you do when no one is watching. It might be your character, the person you are when no one is clapping. It might be your values, your growth, your discipline, your relationships with the few people who actually pour into your life instead of draining it. When you focus on those things, you become magnetic. People can feel when someone is deeply aligned. They might not understand it. They might call you distant, cold, intense, because you no longer show up for nonsense. But they will respect it. You see, most people are pulled in 100 directions. They say yes when they mean no. They scroll for hours and then wonder why they feel empty. They reply out of guilt. They answer every message like it's urgent. They live in a state of low-grade anxiety. Not because life is hard, but because they've given up their sovereignty over what matters. You must take it back. Build a life where your attention is treated like gold. Because it is. Where your time is not just spent, but invested into things that return to you with growth, clarity, peace. Learn to say no without explaining. Learn to ignore what is irrelevant. Learn to feel the pressure to engage and let it pass. Because not everything deserves your energy. Not every invitation is worth your presence. Not every battle is worth fighting. When you begin to value your own time more than the validation of others, something incredible happens. Your life simplifies, and your power multiplies. This is not about perfection. You will slip. You will waste time. You will get caught in the scroll. You'll be tempted to jump into conversations that don't matter. But every time you return to what matters, every time you choose stillness over stimulation, you strengthen the part of you that leads. So, what really matters to you? That's not a rhetorical question. I want you to write it. Not the things you think should matter, but the ones that, when everything else falls away, still call to you. It could be your peace, your family, your discipline, your art, your health, your service. Write it in the comments below. Let your words be a declaration, a way to cut through the noise and remember who you are. Now let's move forward into the chaos and remain steady inside it. Chapter 4. Stay steady in chaos. The storm will come. That's a guarantee. The friend will betray you. The relationship will rupture. The job will fall through. The car will break down at the worst possible time. The world will throw its chaos at your feet and say, "Let's see what you're made of." This is where most people unravel, but not you. Because when you choose to stay steady in chaos, you become something more than the average. You become a force. You become that rare presence that others turn to when things fall apart. And not because you know everything or feel nothing, but because you've learned to breathe where others panic, to listen where others shout, and to stand where others collapse. This isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about knowing that no matter how loud the external gets, you don't have to match it. You don't have to become chaos just because you're surrounded by it. Let's talk about what that looks like. When you stay steady in chaos, you don't rush to fix what's broken. At least, not right away. You pause. You observe. You understand that sometimes the most powerful move is stillness, because not every fire requires your hands. Some burn themselves out when left alone. You resist the pull to dramatize, to catastrophize, to vent your emotional storm onto others. You take responsibility for your energy. You choose words carefully, or not at all. You become the one who speaks last and says the most. In crisis, your calm becomes a weapon, a shield, a message. When someone attacks you, directly or indirectly, your response is not a counterattack, but composure. And in that silence, they are forced to sit with themselves. Your refusal to spiral leaves them exposed to their own noise. When plans fall apart, you adjust. You don't crumble, you don't scream into the void, you adapt. You make decisions from principle, not panic. You don't just fake it till you make it. You slow down enough to feel what's real and move from that grounded truth. You learn to expect the unexpected, not as paranoia, but as preparation. The Stoics had a practice for this: premeditation malorum, the rehearsal of adversity. They imagined worst-case scenarios, not to scare themselves, but to train their minds to remain level when things went wrong. And when the worst finally came, they were ready, not because they liked it, but because they had met it before, in silence, in the privacy of their own thoughts. Chaos will test you. It will show you where you're still reactive, where you still need control, where your wounds are still loud. And every moment inside that storm is a chance to build something greater. Not a life without problems, but a character that is unmoved by them. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Your character is not defined when things are easy. It is revealed when everything is hard. And when you hold your center, when you choose not to be consumed by the storm, you show yourself what you're capable of. And that is priceless. Let others panic. Let them flail and point fingers and spiral. You will not join them. Not out of arrogance, but out of practice. Because you've trained for this. You've built something inside you that no one else can touch. And when people come to you in their own storms, because they will feel it. They will not always know how to describe it, but they will lean in. They will calm down in your presence because your energy doesn't match theirs. It elevates it. You don't even need to say much. Your steadiness will say everything. Now, take a breath. Remember a time when your world felt like it was breaking, but you kept going. You didn't fall apart. You didn't disappear. You stayed. You breathed. You grew. That strength, it's still in you. It always was. If you've been through chaos and found your way back to calm, share a piece of that story in the comments. Someone else may need your example more than you know. Next, we'll build on this even further. Because chaos will always return, but your calm can become unshakable. Chapter 5. Build unshakable calm. To build unshakable calm is not to escape life's storms, but to learn how to breathe within them. It's not about constructing a fragile peace that only lasts when things are perfect. It's about developing an inner architecture that holds steady, even when the outer walls collapse. And this doesn't happen by accident. You do not stumble into peace. You carve it from the chaos, from the disappointment, from the thousands of little tests life throws at you when no one is watching. Unshakable calm is forged slowly. It begins with one small decision, repeated consistently over time. I will not allow the outer world to dictate my inner one. This choice becomes your compass. You make it when you're tired, when you're overwhelmed, when you're provoked. You don't make it once, you make it over and over again. Until it becomes part of your posture, your rhythm, your very breath. And still, the world will test you. It will give you critics, delays, betrayals, frustrations. People will talk behind your back, twist your intentions, ignore your worth. Situations will slip from your control, just when you thought you had everything figured out. But if you've built your calm deliberately, not in the absence of challenge, but in the face of it, you will not crumble. Let's talk about how you build it. First, you protect your mornings. The first hour after you wake is sacred ground. That's where your baseline is set. Before the world enters, before the noise starts, before messages and obligations and chaos begin to circle, you must establish yourself. Breathe, reflect. Sit in silence, stretch your body, touch your thoughts. Do something for the soul, not for the algorithm. When you skip this, you start reactive. You begin the day chasing. But when you honor your mornings, you carry that steadiness into every other hour. Second, you train your nervous system. Calm is not just a mindset. It's physical. If your breath is shallow, your posture collapsed, your body rigid, your nervous system will interpret even small discomforts as threats. But when you slow your breath, when you feel your feet on the ground, when you soften the shoulders and open the chest, you begin to reprogram the body into safety. And the body that feels safe doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to react. It listens. It responds with clarity. Third, You develop rituals that anchor you when things get loud. It could be a phrase you repeat, a walk you take, a piece of music that calms the pulse, a cold splash of water, a posture of stillness. These are not habits for comfort. They are reinforcements of your strength. You call on them when others would lose control. Fourth, you edit your environment. Peace cannot thrive in chaos. That doesn't mean you need a perfect life, but you need boundaries. Reduce the inputs. Choose silence over noise. Curate what you allow into your mental space. Be brutal about it. Unfollow what drains you. Distance yourself from those who only speak in drama. You are not obligated to carry what confuses you, what disrespects you, what constantly brings turbulence. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to fix everyone. You are allowed to say, "I'm not available for this kind of energy." Fifth, you stop responding to everything. Silence is powerful, not just as a response to others, but as a practice with yourself. In silence, you learn to sit with discomfort. You learn not to escape every emotion, not to fix every fear with noise. You become comfortable inside the stillness most people avoid. Sixth, you remember who you're becoming. Unshakable calm is not just about this moment. It's about the life you're building, the reputation you're creating, the legacy you're shaping. Do you want to be known as someone who is easily rattled, who loses their cool the moment something doesn't go their way? Or do you want to be that rare energy, the one people remember not for volume but for presence? Let that question lead you, because every time you choose calm over chaos, you're building that version of yourself. And yes, you will fall short. You will have moments of frustration, fear, anxiety, irritation. That's okay. The goal is not perfection. The goal is not to pretend you don't feel. The goal is to respond instead of react, to move with purpose instead of impulse. And here's the paradox. The more you choose calm, the more influence you have. The quieter you become, the more people lean in. The less you try to prove, the more you embody power. Because nothing is more magnetic than someone who does not flinch. So if you're building that unshakable calm piece by piece, ritual by ritual, drop this in the comments. My peace is mine. Let it be a reminder to you and to someone else reading that calm is not a luxury. It's a weapon, a compass, a way of life. Now let's move from stillness to intention. Chapter 6. Act with clear intent. Clarity is rare. In a world drowning in information, motion, and opinions, most people don't know why they do what they do. They drift, they perform, they react, they chase things, not because they've chosen them, but because they were told those things should matter. But not you. If you are to live as the Stoics taught, with sovereignty, with depth, with wisdom, you must act with clear intent, not to impress, not to react, but to build. To live deliberately. When your intent is clear, your path is steady. You move with a kind of quiet certainty, not because you know every step ahead, but because you know your reason for walking. And that clarity, that deep inner why, keeps you from being pulled into the empty trends, the petty games, the exhausting comparison traps. To act with clear intent means asking a hard question before every decision. What am I really trying to do here? Am I doing this out of fear or alignment? Am I speaking to be understood or to feel significant? Am I moving towards something or running from discomfort? This level of self-honesty takes courage because it strips away the performance. It reveals ego. It shows you where you've been operating on autopilot. But only in that exposure can real intent be shaped. And once you have it, you become different. You stop chasing attention. You stop performing for the algorithm, for the crowd, for the people who never really see you. You become allergic to fluff. You want what's real. You want what's useful. You want what's true. Intent changes how you speak. You no longer talk just to fill silence. You speak when the words matter, when they carry weight, when they're anchored in something deeper than impulse. It changes how you respond. When someone criticizes you, you don't launch into defense because you already know your motive. When someone misunderstands your path, you don't need to over-explain because your direction wasn't based on their approval. It changes how you lead. Whether you're guiding a team, raising a child, influencing a friend, you lead from principle, not pressure. You don't just do what's popular. You do what's right. It changes how you love. Your words become intentional. Your presence becomes intentional. You don't give time to people who confuse you. You don't say yes out of guilt. You don't offer your energy to those who haven't earned your vulnerability. It even changes how you rest. You no longer rest to escape. You rest to restore. So you can return stronger, sharper, clearer. Intent makes you powerful. Because you no longer move from the outside in, pushed around by trends, opinions, panic. You move from the inside out. You act, not react. You respond, not perform. But how do you sharpen intent? You reflect. Often. You write. You ask better questions. You review your habits. You pay attention to the moments you feel most alive, and the ones that leave you drained. You use solitude as your mirror. You learn to sit with your own mind without needing noise. And when you get off track, because you will, you return. You don't punish yourself. You don't spiral. You simply remember who you are and why you began. So now, ask yourself, where in your life have you been moving without intent? Which decisions have been driven by fear, distraction, ego, or confusion? Write it down, speak it aloud, and more importantly, make the shift. And if you're ready to live like that on purpose, with purpose, type this in the comments. I move with meaning, not for show, not for validation, but because clarity is a gift you give yourself. Next, we'll take this one step further, transforming pain itself into power. Chapter 7. Turn pain into power. Pain has a way of arriving without invitation. It doesn't knock. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It enters sudden, sharp, and loud. Sometimes it whispers in your chest. Other times, it screams through heartbreak, failure, rejection, grief. It doesn't matter how strong you are. Pain will come. That is the cost of living fully, of caring deeply, of growing honestly. But pain, when understood, is not just a wound. It's a forge, and that's where your power lies. When most people feel pain, they resist it, they numb it, they bury it under distraction, drown it in noise, mask it with shallow pleasure. The pain stays, though, twisting in the background, shaping decisions, distorting perception, making their world smaller and their trust weaker. But you're not most people. To turn pain into power is to face it with eyes open, not to wallow in it, not to glamorize it, but to understand it, to walk straight into the fire and ask it, what are you here to teach me? This is not easy. It's not glamorous, but it's essential. Pain will either harden you or sharpen you? You decide. Let's talk about what that choice looks like. You start by acknowledging the pain. No detour, no mask. You feel the heartbreak, the betrayal, the humiliation, the loss. You give it a name. You let it echo in the silence. You don't distract yourself with false positivity. You let yourself feel fully, honestly, because only in full presence can pain begin to release its grip. And then you begin the work. You ask better questions. Instead of, why did this happen to me? You ask, what now? Instead of, how could they do this? You ask, what can I learn about myself? Instead of, will I ever feel normal again? You ask, who can I become because of this? These are not just words. They are tools. They slice through the fog. They create space between stimulus and response. They help you rise from victimhood into ownership. Next, you extract the lesson. Every painful moment contains wisdom, but only if you're humble enough to look for it. Maybe you trusted too quickly. Maybe you stayed too long. Maybe you ignored the signs. Maybe life simply reminded you that control is an illusion. Whatever it is, take it. Own it. Let it become your teacher. The Stoics were not cold-hearted men removed from suffering. They were warriors of the inner life, forged by exile, death, loss, poverty, and pressure. Marcus Aurelius wrote his most profound words while watching friends die and empires crumble. Seneca penned his letters while awaiting forced suicide. Epictetus was born a slave, beaten until he walked with a limp, and yet taught generations how to live freely. They didn't avoid pain, they transformed it. You can do the same. You can let the pain become your clarity, your empathy, your strength. You can turn it into sharper boundaries, deeper presence, wiser discernment. You can build with it, not in spite of it, but through it. And there's something else you'll discover when you walk this path. Power doesn't shout. It doesn't explode. True power is quiet. It's the stillness in your chest when someone tries to provoke you. It's the calm in your voice when your world falls apart. It's the smile you carry when you've seen darkness and chosen light anyway. So now ask yourself, what pain have you buried? What wound have you refused to look at? And what strength is hidden inside it, waiting to be claimed? If you're ready to stop hiding from your pain and start building with it, type this in the comments. My pain will not be wasted. Because when pain becomes power, you become unstoppable. Let's go now to silence, the final language of the unfazed. Chapter 8. Shine through silence. There is something mysterious about those who don't speak unless they must. Something quietly magnetic. A still presence. A felt strength. You don't know why you lean in. You just do. Because their silence is not emptiness. It's fullness. This is what it means to shine through silence. You see, we live in a culture obsessed with noise. Everyone is saying something. Opinions flood the air. People explain themselves endlessly, defend every move, perform constantly. They fear being misunderstood more than they fear being weak. So they speak and speak, but not you. To seem unfazed is to realize that silence is not a void. It's a choice, a posture, a power move. It says, I do not need to explain myself to be valid. I do not need to defend my value. I do not need to fill the space to matter. This silence is not passive. It's not shy. It's not timid. It's a deliberate presence, like a mountain holding its shape. No matter what the wind says, you shine through silence by knowing when not to speak. When the insult arrives, but doesn't deserve your energy. When the temptation to argue rises, but you know the truth is already clear. When the room goes loud, and you choose stillness. The Stoics mastered this. They practiced withholding words until they meant something. They didn't jump to correct every error or chase every falsehood, because they understood to speak without control is to lose influence. To answer everything is to be owned by everything. Your silence does not mean weakness. It means discernment. You speak when it matters, and when it doesn't, you smile and let the noise pass. And here's the thing, people will notice. They'll feel the space you hold. They'll wonder what you're thinking. They'll project their curiosity onto you. And many times their imagination will give your silence more weight than your words ever could. That is the paradox. Silence, when rooted in confidence, speaks louder than volume ever will. But this silence doesn't just affect others. It shapes you. In silence, you hear your own thoughts more clearly. You notice your habits. You feel where your body holds tension. You begin to observe the world with less judgment and more understanding. You stop reacting to every wave and start watching the tides. You gain time. You gain clarity. You gain respect. You learn that not every emotion needs to be voiced, that not every feeling needs to be broadcast, that your inner world can be held like sacred ground, not a public stage. And what happens next? You begin to glow, not the loud kind, not the spotlight kind, but the kind of glow that makes people wonder what you've seen, what you know, where you've been. The kind of glow that doesn't fade, because it's built on stillness, not validation. To shine through silence is to build a kind of quiet royalty. You carry yourself differently. You pause before speaking. You walk into a room not to prove, but to observe. You become the one people wait to hear from. And when you finally do speak, every word lands. So I ask you, can you sit in silence and feel strong in it? Can you listen, truly listen, without planning your next line? Can you resist the urge to explain yourself to people who've already made up their minds? If yes, then you're on the path. Drop a comment and tell me, where in your life could more silence create more power? It might be in your relationships, your work, your self-talk. Wherever it is, honor it. Let the quiet do what noise never could. Now let's conclude this journey. Conclusion. To seem unfazed is not a mask. It is not performance. It is transformation. It is the result of deep, deliberate inner work. The kind of work most people will never see, but everyone will feel. It is found in your stillness, your restraint, your focus, your clarity. It is forged in silence, in solitude, in your refusal to be pulled into chaos that does not belong to you. When you master inner peace, let go of reactions, focus on what truly matters, and remain steady in chaos. You begin to radiate a new energy. Add to that the unshakable calm, the clarity of intent, the transformation of pain, and the glow of silence. And you no longer move like everyone else. You no longer respond like everyone else. You stand apart, not by trying, but simply by being. People will notice. They will wonder how you're so composed, so grounded, so untouched by drama. Some will be drawn to you. Others will misunderstand you. A few will even fear you. Let them. That's not your concern. Your concern is the work, the quiet, sacred inner work. If this video stirred something in you, if it reminded you of who you are beneath the noise, take a breath. Carry this energy into your day. Speak less. Choose your path more deliberately. Observe without reacting. And when life tests you, as it will, meet it with the calm fire of someone who cannot be moved. If you're ready to keep walking that path, subscribe to the Everlasting Stoic. This space is for those building strength, not noise. Peace, not performance. Power, not panic. And if this message resonated with you, drop a like and share it with someone who's been letting the world shake them too easily. Stay steady. Stay sharp. And above all, stay silent. When silence says more than words ever could. We'll speak again soon.